Ladies and gentlemen, K Kim here. Welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up about 1.7% on the S&P. Pretty much throughout the day, across the board, we're about around 2%, all the indices. So we talked about this in detail yesterday on the daily update video, where we talked about this support level here, right? That gap was filled yesterday, and that level was coinciding with these moving averages, which has been acting as a strong support, right? And with that, we see a pretty decent sized gap up, and with that gap up, price is now back above my short-term moving average. That was the first hour. On the third hour, it looks like we kind of retested short-term moving average, retested 338, the gap up area, found some support. We continue on the fourth hour, fifth hour, we stalled a little bit in sixth hour. So we're back at that 342 area, which is the current resistance. We talked about how this 340 level, 342, 340 level, how important this level is. I talked about it yesterday. Also talked about it on Monday and weekend video. So I'm not going to reiterate that. So you can go ahead and watch those videos to understand why 342 is important when you look at the midterm trend of things. But I want to focus on today's video on the short-term price action and some of the levels going into tomorrow. We have 2 more days of trading sessions left, Thursday and Friday. So obviously 342 is a resistance. You can see that we hit that level. We saw pretty big tankage there, but we got right back up. With that gap up today, buyers have opened up another gap up. You see this gap was important because that gap held for a couple of weeks, support and support, and then buyers actually opened up this gap here, which was closed yesterday, but bulls got right back up, opened up another gap up here. So we still have that breakaway gap, continuation gap. Bullish divergence is still in play, which we've been talking about since late September. Ever since then, the sentiment, ever since this gap up after the bullish divergence, we've been labeling this market as bullish in the short term, right? And it's been bullish. There are some up and down shenanigans. There's some, turbulence. But I mean, this market isn't the market without some turbulence. That's what's going to make this market. So it's all given. You're going to have some up and down movement. That's what you want to kind of understand the overall picture, which we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. We have now, for the first time since the decline in early September, starting to see my midterm moving average rising higher, right? Also see my long-term moving average just underneath that, right? So you can see that my midterm moving average is rising now. Look at this, is declining, right? That's the decline, kind of flattening out and starting to rise. So when you see my midterm moving average rising like that, you want to be bullish in the midterm. So as of today, as of now, as of this moment, I am actually going to give it bullish in the short term. Now that we're back above my short-term moving average. Even yesterday, if you go back and watch my video yesterday, I didn't want to give it bearish in the short term. I believe I was neutral in the in the short term. Even with that, despite the fact that we did see that big decline in the last few hours of trading session yesterday, because the fact that we were holding above these moving averages and the gap just got filled, right? And we were still cultivating higher highs in the short term. That's why. So now with that gap up, it's bullish in the short term, and I don't want to fully give it bullish yet in the midterm, but I think this is the first time since the early September decline, I'm labeling this market neutral to bullish. Neutral to bullish. in the midterm, right? I think we were at one point neutral, and then it was like neutral to bearish, and then we went back to neutral, and now today I am labeling this market neutral to bullish in the midterm. Once we clear above 342, the midterm sentiment will turn to bullish. So as of today, short-term bullish, midterm neutral to bullish, obviously bullish in the long term. So buyers been gaining a lot of momentum here in the month of, in the late September and early October. In just last, how many days has it been since October? So last 5 trading sessions, right? So 342 is the level where the buyers want to reclaim and break above. With this gap up, now we have 2 lives back. Yesterday we talked about how that bad bulls had 2 lives, but that 1 life was taken away because the gap got filled. Well, guess what? We opened up another gap. So bulls got 2 lives to work with. There's 1 and there's 2. So if we see price falling tomorrow or remainder of this week, 338 is a level of support, and buyers want to protect it. It will be better going into next week and remainder of this month if this gap remains open. And I said the exact same thing back in late September and early October. Talked about how it will be better for the buyers if this gap remains open. Well, that gap remained open, and from that move, we saw this kind of rally here. And when we saw a pretty sharp decline yesterday, we saw another gap up. And that tells you there's lots of buyers willing to buy that dip, continuing to keep that momentum going to the upside. Let's check out that oscillator here real quick, because this is very interesting, right? We're finding support right here, and it is no coincidence. It's not randomly, we're finding support there and, crossing back up. We do see my oscillator just crossed here on the last hour, I believe. And last time when we saw a cross here, and that was right there, right? And that's what we're seeing across today. And this was the last time we saw a cross back in late September. And this was when we saw a cross, towards, September 21st or something like that. So that was that cross, right? And you can see that was that bullish divergence we've been talking about, right? Price action making lower low, my oscillator creating higher low. That's a bullish divergence, right? With that, market got from 320 and currently trading at 340. With that bullish divergence, with this gap up, and the moving average is rising, they're building a lot of momentum. And now, currently, bulls are continuing to build momentum here. And if bulls really want to utilize this to the upside, there's a lot of move. There's a lot of energy left for this market to continue to move higher, right? And we started initial cross. And you know what though? I mean, we've seen some of these crosses before where you can whipsaw, right? We saw that here, looked like cross, whipsaw back down. Is here, it looks like it was gonna cross, whipsaw back down. But what we talked about in late September and early October, and this is exactly, and I talked about exactly what buyers need, is while the oscillator reset and rest, you see here, we want the price to consolidate and hold on above this gap there, and that's exactly what it did. And that's kind of like a hidden bullish divergence, right? Price or the market correcting through time rather than through price. So you let the market hang around and move sideways, and the oscillator comes back down, hit that support, what happened? We see a rally. And yes, we did see sharp decline yesterday, last couple hours, but at that point, we've already cultivated what? Higher high, right? And we bounced again today. Why? Well, you can see that this low is definitely lower than this low. We can still say that that's a higher low. And what's in higher low? That's what you call an uptrend. So we're actually in an uptrend in the short term with cultivation of higher highs and higher lows. You see that? So something that I've been talking about since, September, late September, is that as we see this market revealing more data, we'll have a better idea where the market is going. So from where we were in late September here and here, it was a little bit ambiguous, right? We didn't have quite a full picture how this market was going to behave. We knew we had a bullish divergence at the time, right? We knew that. And we're talking about how, okay, so are we going to see buyers materializing this and reversing the trend, right? And with that oscillator, we've never came back down to the lows here. You see, this is a downturn, this is a downturn, this is a downturn. But what happens is that's the lows. The bottom of his span, that's where the bullish divergence started. We never came back down to the bottom of his span, but we're now oscillating back and forth at the top of his span. And what does that mean? It means we are finding momentum to the upside. Buyers are building, cultivating an uptrend with the higher lows and higher highs, with the price action and with the oscillators building momentum. And this is the reason why, despite the fact that we had such a sharp decline yesterday, we just get right back up. We just gotten right back up where we were like 4th hour of yesterday's trading. And with that, gap is open. We got these, moving averages rising. Things are looking more and more bullish, and things are looking more and more healthier. So, short-term bullish, mid-term neutral to bullish. 342 is the level to reclaim for the buyers, and 338 is the level that buyers want to protect. And this entire gap area, actually 338 all the way to 335. If you're a seller here, you want to see this thing filling this gap once again at 335. This gap is a threat for the bears because we already got first gap and that's a second gap. We got that much momentum there. So bears want to fill this gap as quickly as possible. Well, bears already filled this gap here and they worked hard to fill that gap. And I think with this, very quickly, we saw buyers coming back, reversing this. I'm not sure it will be easy to come down and filling that gap just because how fast that turnaround was, right? That's why. So I'll come back for you guys tomorrow night. We'll go from there. Enjoy your evening. Good luck trading tomorrow.